everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is MTG Ghoul Dude, and today I want to talk about a creature that a lot of people are are not seeing a lot of. He's not seeing a lot of play, but I picked him up on Arena, built a deck, and I've tried it like 3 or 4 different ways before I finally settled on this type of deck. So, without further ado, the commander I'm talking about, and the one you know because you clicked on the video, is Argus Koss, Spirit of Justice. For 2 generic, a red and a white, it's a 2/4 legendary creature, Spirit Detective. They have double strike and vigilance, and whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, and that phrase right there is very important for what I'm about to talk about. Enters the battlefield or attacks, choose up to 1 target creature. If it's suspected, I'm horrible. Apparently, I have a lisp. Exile it. Otherwise, suspect it. A suspected creature has menace and can't block. Looking at this, it's not that great because you're giving an opponent's creature or your creature a. If you're targeting it the way I'm using this commander, I'm using it to target my opponent's creatures. If you want to do it to give your creatures menace and can't block, that's still good too. But I decided to go with the double trigger exile type deck. It's a flicker deck. So the kind of things that I went with is, it's pretty niche for a flicker deck, but usually you don't see a deck like this in these colors. So what are we going to be using to help flicker our commander and get double triggers? Well, we're going to start off with the Panharmonicon to help double our ETBs, because when Argus enters the battlefield, this will double. So you're pretty much just playing your commander, looking at the board and saying that's gone and it's not coming back. And then we're also going to be playing with the Conjurer's Closet. Now, this isn't on Arena, of course, but Conjurer's Closets would be great for this deck in paper because you get to exile, and if you got to attack with him that turn, guess what? He's back, he enters the battlefield, his trigger goes off, and you get to exile a suspected creature. Now, moving on to some of the creatures that we would want to play in this deck. Argus is a 2/4. He is a 2-power creature, so Delny, Streetwise Lookout, will do a Panharmonicon type effect. But what about Denly Streetwise Lookout? For 2 generic and a white, he is a 2/2 legendary creature, human scout. Creatures you control power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. If an ability of a creature you control with 2 power or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. But we're also going to be playing Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, and these are just suggestions for Argus as this type of deck that I was playing. Elesh Norn, Mother of Machines, for 4 generic and a white, she is a 4/7 with vigilance. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of permanents your opponent's control to trigger. So this is also a great way to double up on your ETBs of creatures that will draw you cards, or a Solemn Simulacrum that'll help you find another land. But we're also going to be playing Gandalf the White for 3 generic and 3 white. This is a 4/5 legendary creature avatar wizard with flash. You may cast legendary spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. If a legendary permanent or artifact entering or leaving the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Now, here's the thing. If you have any combination of these together out on the board, guess what? You're now triggering off of triggers. So now it just cascades into multiple triggers. So if you have a Delny and a Gandalf and a Panharmonicon, well, you play your commander, you're going to get 4 triggers. which means 2 creatures go bye-bye. But now we move on to the flicker type cards in the deck. Starting off with Eerie Interlude, this will help save a lot of your creatures from like a board wipe or something. And then you can bring them all back in and you get all their ETBs again. And then Argus can do his thing and exile a suspected creature. If you don't have one, you suspect it. But I prefer to not let them have an evasive creature if I can help it. But Eerie Interlude, for 2 generic and a white, you exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their opponent's control under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. But we're also going to be playing cards like Charming Prince to help us bounce or get, some value off of these creatures that we are also going to be flickering and bouncing. Cloud Shift is another good one. For 1 white, it's an exile target creature you control, return to the battlefield under your control. Still pretty good. And then we have cards like Slip on the Ring. For 1 generic and a white, it's an instant exile target creature you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control. Then the ring tempts you, which could be, if you get a couple more of those in there, it could be some card draw. And now we're going to move on to combat. So not only does he trigger on ETB, he also triggers on attack. So you want to be able to throw in, little things that would help you get more damage in, because he is also a double striking vigilant creature. That's actually pretty good. So Aggravated Assault could be really good in a deck like this. For 2 generic and a red, it is an enchantment, and it has the ability for 3 generic and 2 red, you can untap all creatures you control. If it's a main phase, there is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, I did forget to add Aurelia, the one that gives you a double combat phase. So this would kind of like work in tandem with each other if you wanted to do something like that. But now we're going to move on to our final category, which is combo. I mean, this is a flicker deck, and what flicker deck wouldn't be complete without the Felidar Guardian Kiki-Jiki combo? It's pretty played out and everything, but I felt like it fit really well in this deck. And I feel like it would play well in a paper deck also. I mean, you can't play it on Arena, but yeah, the old Kiki-Jiki Felidar Guardian combo. But for those that don't know, Felidar Guardian is a cat beast creature that's a 1/4 for 3 generic and a white. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may exile another target permanent you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. And then with Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker, you get a 2/2 for 2 generic and 3 red legendary creature Goblin Shaman with haste. That is the important part. You can tap him to create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control. That token has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So what you will do is you will get your Kiki-Jiki out there. You cast your Felidar Guardian. Well, now it's on the board. Now you can tap Kiki-Jiki to make a copy of him. Or you can have your Felidar on the board and then cast your Kiki-Jiki. Either way you want to do it. These pieces just have to be on the board together. And they can't be removed to allow this combo to complete it, to go to completion, is if you might want to say it like that. But what you do is you tap him, make a copy of Felidar Guardian. Felidar Guardian ETBs, exiles a target permanent you control, return it to the battlefield. It flickers it. It makes another Kiki-Jiki. It flickers it back in. You tap Kiki-Jiki. So make another copy of Felidar Guardian and rinse and repeat. So, and that, I feel like it would fit in the deck because it is a flicker type deck. So what do you guys think about Argus Koth Spirit of Justice? Let me know down in the comments below what you think about this this type of deck, and what you would do with Argus cost Spirit of Justice. Now, I will say I tried the Spirit route on Arena. I actually tried a combat landfall base deck with cost, and it did have all kinds of creatures that would benefit off of combat, and it just didn't feel just right. But when I finally set it in with the double effects, it just rolled. It's beautiful when it starts popping off. It is amazing. But that is going to be it for today, everybody. I really appreciate everybody that likes and comments on the videos and shares the videos. Everybody that has subscribed, I can't thank you guys enough. But that is going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys next time in the graveyard.